How difficult are delvings in the Lord of the Rings Online? Today, I'm going to try to find out by running the max difficulty tier 12 delving on my Warden. But before we do that, I'm actually going to do a tier 7 delving to start for a baseline of how this character performs. And because I haven't done it yet, we can do Tharbad Tower Ascent. Now with delvings, there are of course a whole lot of variables such as what affixes or malices you have in the particular delving, even what character you're running, of course your class spec, all that can impact how hard or easy the delvings are, and even how long they take. But I did a lot of that experimentation back before the sort of mini revamp to the delving difficulty system, back when the max difficulty was tier 10. I did run tier 10 on both my Warden and Runekeeper would have been my level cap characters, but I have not actually done tier 12 delving properly since the revamp. Usually I run tier 7 because that is sort of the baseline to actually get good gear, and it's relatively easy, at least if you're moderately geared at 140. And I will say, with an asterisk just being the classes I have played with both Warden and Runekeeper. Runekeeper is actually a pretty strong powerhouse through them, and Warden has a lot of survivability, especially if you play in blue line. So as we finally get into this LOTRO challenge, one of the things I like to do at the start of a delving is just see what the actual affixes, or again, malices are. It looks like I aggroed something here, but based on my initial reading, I did not see too much of extra difficulty. They had some healing effects, and then this one's going to be, they will have protection, so they get the corruption based on the damage type I do, and then they can do a powerful flame attack. And then the tier 6 malice here is going to be, they have a disease aura, so that will deal damage to me. And then finally, they do something, killing them too quick. They have doubts about my ability, so it looks like I'll just have to cleanse. They'll give me a debuff. Now they do have a stun, that could just be the regular mobs, but that sure does hurt me. But yeah, as you can see, I'm not even having to worry all too much about my health. Of course, it's going down quite a bit now that I have tons of mobs on me, but being a tank spec and with the Warden revamp, I actually have a lot of cooldowns to help survive here. And I think at this point, now that I'm somewhat healed up and use one of my healing cooldowns, if I can get unstunned again, that does seem to be something that could cause troubles, especially if we get to tier 12 and see what sort of malices we have. But just remove the corruptions and I should be good from here. Again, I'm not familiar with this specific mission just because I haven't run it, but it looks like we just have to work through mobs to go to the Orc Commander. It's really hard to see because it's nighttime here, and I actually have pretty much all my brightness settings on my monitor way up. And because tier 7 is not hard enough, of course I have to have my cat here, making it more difficult, making it hard to actually do the video and record my commentary and even do any sort of gameplay. It's so hard for me to pay attention with her here, but I don't mind too much. Okay, we are finally making some progress through these enemies, and then I think, again, the big thing is to search for the Orc Commander here so I can actually complete the mission. I also should point out that I actually normally play in Redline for tier 7 delving. I don't run them that frequently since I got a lot of them done, again, pre-delving revamp, and they're just not as useful for me. I don't really care about gear this late in the expansion cycle because we're getting a whole new expansion, so I don't want to like burn myself out trying to just make this character more powerful when a couple months away all my gear will be irrelevant anyway. So yeah, just haven't run that many delvings since the revamp, but I should point out that I usually would run Redline for tier 7 just because it's a lot faster than trying to play blue line here. I also am actually, without the cat to bother me here, am actually able to pay attention enough to at least do somewhat more decent damage. But now we can see how things go that I have switched to the red line. I don't think I might have pulled two groups here. I don't think I'll be able to play the red line quite viably once we get to the higher tier delving. And this is also probably very much not safe. It looks like I decided to pull everything, and I'm deciding to have some either lag or just slow animation issues right now, where I'm skipping over abilities. Don't worry, we can get through this. I just gotta run down here and hopefully line of sight everything. Should maybe be able to get through this. I at least want to kill a couple mobs. I don't even mind if I necessarily die with like all these enemies attacking me. It's probably safe to assume I wouldn't be able to get through this, but if I at least kill a couple of them, that means when I go back up, they will be thinned out. Of course, the stun there does not help with anything. And unfortunately, redline healing is not that great. It makes sense as a DPS spec, but that does mean, I don't know if this will reach all of them. It looks like it did. That's pretty good. Just break line of sight. I have so many more survival tools, and I'm used to playing the blue line because I honestly enjoy it a lot more with the Warden after the revamp, and have enjoyed it a lot more than the red line, which does mean I'm a lot more familiar with the tools and just the safety, I guess, of playing the blue line even. But we might be able to get through this. Probably not worth using my advanced techniques at this point. Boy, these stuns, those might be one of the more annoying things about the, again, I didn't see anything with the malices that specified stuns, but it could be a part of the malice effects. I also could remove their corruption, but I guess it ain't that bothersome. Looks like we did get through it. Can barely even see anything on the screen because again, it's so dark here, and I do have my ambient light maxed out, and again, for my own vision, I have my monitor brightness turned up, but it probably kind of sucks for the video. Hard to see anything. And now that we're back up here, we already fought an elite, but we'll go ahead and fight the commander, who also happens to be an elite, and I will try to do a little bit better Warden rotation. Again, having not played Redline all that much with the revamp, I kind of forget that the self buffs are actually useful, and a whole bunch of other things that impact damage are actually like worth doing that used to not be worth doing. I just don't have much practice with it, so don't mind my rustiness and newbiness as far as that's concerned to start here. But I think if I get a good stacking of my damage over time abilities, that should give us a good start. Not using Desolation twice in a row would also be helpful. But I think if I get one more, actually he's already almost dead, so I'll just use my upfront damage guy. And yeah, I didn't have to worry about my health at all, just because, again, tier 7 delvings especially, I'm actually still in my tank gear despite being a DPS spec. They don't do too much to this character. If I were on my captain or runekeeper, that would be a whole other story. I'd have to kite that mob on my runekeeper, and I'd probably have to send my herald in to tank on my captain. But let's see what we get from that. Okay, cleaned up my inventory a little bit there, and we can turn in the tier 7 delving quest and see what we got from that. Box of crafting materials, wonderful. So unfortunately it is still nighttime and rainy, so going to be hard to see, but again, for tier 7, that was a sort of baseline for what I consider to be kind of the baseline delving difficulty that is actually worth running with tier 7, and now we're going to go up to tier 12. So I will stay redline for now, and I am not using any buffs at this point. I didn't even eat food in the last one. I think I did have a hope token buff, and I think it is worth going ahead and using one here, but I'll try to avoid using other buffs and even food, just to see how it goes. But it looks like for new affixes, we lost the 3rd and 4th tier, I believe, but we've gained 12th, 10th, 9th, and 8th tier affixes here on these characters. So they explode into weaker monsters when they die, and then they will have hotspots because Standing Stone Games absolutely loves puddles. And then after I attack them, so they do get the buff, and then they're glass cannon, but they take double damage, so that could actually be really good for tank spec. But again, I'm just gonna see what happens if I run in here in the DPS spec to start. So we'll go range stance and then swap out to melee stance, and hopefully I don't die very quickly. Looks like they're doing an induction, and now they have that red thing that I don't know what it does. I'm guessing it gives them, in some form, some increased defenses. I did not ever see a corruption appear on them, or did I remove it very quickly? Yeah, they didn't get a corruption, so maybe their defensive buff isn't actually a removable one, unlike the lower tiers. And then we have the ads that spawn. They're always fun to deal with. Alright, unfortunately I do have to activate Never Surrender if I actually want to survive. I was hoping I wouldn't have to. I still might not even survive because I have a ranged archer on me in addition to these mobs, and I don't think it's going to end too well for me. For being in redline, I don't consider that too terrible in fighting 2 mobs with a not well prepared fight. I've never been a big fan of the dread mechanic in the delvings. Let me know what you think of that, but it seems like it's kind of there to be annoying rather than something that is sort of fun and engaging, and that you need a hope token to clear it, but your hope tokens have like 5-minute cooldowns or whatever, so if you die frequently, it's going to cause problems. Maybe that's what it meant to be, like more of a punishment for dying. A temporary punishment, that is, just to make things either take longer or... I guess I can go and attack the swarm. But then it just like costs a lot of materials to do that, and I don't know, I would rather direct gameplay challenge than just having dread. I've never been the biggest fan of dread and LOTRO though, from like a general perspective anyway. Things I know have huge aggro radiuses in delvings for better or worse. It definitely catches me off guard sometimes, but since we're in the tier 12 delving, I am perhaps obviously playing a little bit more carefully here, especially as I have a huge amount of dread. But even here in tier 12, I'm not having to worry too much about my health. Of course, I switched to tank spec and we saw I can technically survive in DPS spec here. I probably should get a bleed, but he's about dead anyway. We'll just skip over that builder. I was hoping that would be enough damage, but with the bleeds and dots, it should be good. Then there is a maggot somewhere. I think that's one of the other mobs that spawned. This just really slows down the delving clear, but it's not the most difficult affix for them to have. I did turn on my player lantern, so hopefully that helps with the light a little bit. I know I had to actually change the keybind of that because it was not Alt F10 as the default. Actually, even just installing LOTRO default, it was not Alt F10 anymore. They changed it. I forget exactly what it was, but there was some special character in there when I was looking at the user preferences or whatever key mapping file that it actually is. That was the wrong heal that I didn't mean to use, but it's okay. Come on, archers. Y'all can go together so I can AoE. Apparently they oppose that. Oh, now he's going back up. It's really unfortunate that they made some mobs like this smart so they don't actually follow you in melee when you're just outside of their melee range. They'll actually back up and use a ranged attack, which of course doesn't help my goal of getting them together to AoE, but they seem to actually be behaving right now. Just get rid of my debuffs. That looked like a monkey see no evil icon for one of the debuffs. I don't know if that was actually the case, but it looked like, you know, one of those covering their eyes ones. This is making my arm sore. I have not played Warden much. I might have a video on it, but I just haven't been enjoying DPS Warden, and of course with content, I haven't done... I was hoping that was enough to kill the archer, but apparently not. Also gotta remember I am in tank spec, so my damage is gonna be low. I was thinking my health was fine, but I'm gonna use my cooldown. I also have not been using my advanced techniques. I've been a bad warden here today. Okay, I think I'm gonna switch targets for this and just let my AoEs kill the other guy. We'll get a stun here as well. But yeah, I haven't exercised my left arm enough to play Warden. It gets sore after a while. Okay, so I did eventually defeat those mobs, and I went ahead and used a hope token. Kind of forgot about that, but the dread effect was getting kind of annoying. And I would like to try DPS, but I think I'm going to end up pulling all three of these mobs, so I will stay tank here and try to do a little bit better damage. We'll just run straight up to this guy, try to interrupt him, and fail poorly at that. Yeah, I'll try to mainly focus on actually using damaging gambits here. I say as I pull an extra guy, we can use an AoE morale tap and have some lag in the meantime. That is a great combination, lag and delvings. So I'm gonna have to activate Never Surrender there, I think. So much for my like pure DPS plan. Alza is definitely not that. I think if I can keep up my heal over times and morale taps, so I know I haven't used my self-defense buffs, but if I can keep that stuff up reasonably, then I think... Did my stun not work? Okay, it did work. We'll use Boar's Rush for some immediate AoE damage, and then get back to the AoE light dots. I feel like that archer has to be low on health, yeah. So eventually I'll be able to run up to him again, but these stuns are not working in my favor. Hopefully I can stun again, I'm not sure. Some of them got stunned. I think it's time for some good self-heals to go on me. Oh, we have a spider. I think these summoned mobs actually do a lot of damage. Like, in comparison to the normal mobs we fight against in the delvings, the summoned ones seem to do a lot more damage. And also, especially that one I was fighting earlier, take hardly any damage at the same time. I might go ahead and use Conviction here, or whatever it's called, for the free peoples. Not even close to Conviction. Now I might have to use a power potion instead of necessarily using my power restore ability at the moment. Of course, the power potions don't even restore that much power anymore. I also shouldn't be targeting the warrior, I should be targeting the spider at this point. I don't know how other classes would do in this situation. Like, sure, champions have good AoE DPS, but I don't see a yellow line champion surviving something like this. Warning might be able to do okay, but they'd fare a lot better, probably after the revamp. And then you have other tank classes that could probably have similar survivability. Good thing Wardens have emergency heals, emergency buttons that actually work now. because I stopped paying attention to my health during the ramble, basically about how well I'm doing and how I don't know how well other classes would perform in this situation. I think I already had restoration on myself. Again, I could use my self-defense buffs, but I'm trying to get as much damage as I can just to get the fight sort of done. These mobs just have so much health. I don't know if it's just a little bit of lag or latency or if I'm just hitting things too fast all of a sudden, but I have to assume in that case that it's lag messing up my gambit building here. Even these once again, missing gambit builders. If I die here, I 100% blame it on lag. Should have played around the lag. We kind of made it through this. I don't even remember which way I was going. That was a very long fight. So I can say, based on the malices that we have and just all those contextual factors for my run here, I will say that I am not, like, I don't think it's that difficult. It's just taking kind of forever. So I'm going to give Redline another go. I know there's a high risk of me dying, especially these groups. They look like they have 3 mobs again, which is very not ideal. I even forget what my Redline build is. It looks like it's mostly melee built, so that's helpful for me. Probably, normally I would focus on an archer in a situation like this, but if I'm going to drag them away... Oh, never mind. Didn't get my ambush. They were ready for me. And we're gonna have some lag, but that's perfectly normal, I guess. If I can clear out, again, just one mob, I would be pretty satisfied with that. I'm gonna try to wait to use my cooldowns until the archers get in range, though. See how much faster things die, though, on the red line? It's pretty crazy. Like, there's clear... Oh, I could have avoided combat with that spider. Oh boy, I almost missed my heal there. I did not want upfront damage, but that's okay. It might end up serving me, being useful. Okay, hopefully that lag and missing brink of victory there did not mess me up too much. We'll try to get this archer, because if I can leave the delving, the summoned mobs off to the side and not aggro them later, then that would actually be ideal, because they, I don't think, need to be defeated to actually complete the mission. We'll get another heal. Yeah, I don't know, this archer is not going down. Okay, he went down. And I'm about to go down as well. I think the best strategy would actually be to die, maybe try to kill the spider. But I think that would be the... Oh, I didn't hit it with Brink of Victory. I forget it has a smaller radius now. But I think that would be the most efficient strategy. I just can't, like, purposefully make my character die if I have a chance of surviving here. So I'll slow the sickle fly. Oh, and then we're getting a swarm. That's right, the mobs, some of these are chain mobs. Okay, I'm gonna switch to melee stance, try to get some form of damage in, and preferably not lagging. Okay, I'm technically out of combat, so we cleared a whole group in the red line. I mean, it was a perfectly normal fight, no issues. Definitely no scuffing during that. But we're getting pretty close. I think we have one group and the boss left, actually seeming like this is going to be possible. So I think in this case, I actually can ambush them. Oh man, once again, I messed it up, but we're okay here. The only problem is I can't run to, I guess, outside the courtyard is where it would be, because that is where, I'm gonna slow the other warrior. That is where all those delving mobs are. This is probably bad. I thought I rooted that guy. Maybe I didn't. Or maybe I hit him with an AoE. That's always a possibility. Okay, let's try to not aggro that spider if we don't have to. This fight is looking way worse than the previous one. That much I can say with some pretty good confidence here. I think I do have my slow ready. We'll slow the spider. Okay, we got the warrior down. I think all these mobs are going to aggro anyway, so I might as well fight them. Probably not the best idea to attack the archer if I am planning on killing all these secondary mobs that spawn. I don't know how much celebration of skill heals in the red line. In fact, I'm going to, oddly enough, use my healing thing. This is a really weird strategy to me, and I don't even know exactly what it does playing a red line warden. Okay, I think I'm fairly safe. Let me just, yeah, I'll target this guy for now. That might not be ideal, actually. And then I'm going to run away. Can probably safely use morale taps here. I don't know, I find this more entertaining than playing the blue line, even if it is ultimately slower. It's just more entertaining being a little bit squishier and having to go. This is almost like the old yellow line. I'm trying to revive yellow line warden. gameplay strategies. Okay, it looks like we have a White of Despair down there. We have this archer who's probably going to summon a little thing. Yeah, another White of War in this case. I will go ahead and use some defensive buffs though. But yeah, let's see how this goes. I'll start off with a knockdown, of course. And then I'll try to use some sort of reasonable gambits here to start off the sequence. I use these abilities in the wrong order, but that's okay. Try to not stare at a tree, and then I think, whoa, wow. Come on, gambits work. The gambits are not working in my favor today. Oh boy. Eventually, I'll use the gambits I've been trying to this whole time. There we go. That's a little bit better. Okay, I think one more gambit will interrupt this, and then, I already used that. Then I don't have to switch to melee again, that's right. Wow, this... Fortunately, we did enough damage, but that lag is really trying to make me fail this delving. But we can go ahead and talk to the scout and wrap this up and not deal with the spider. So yeah, overall that wasn't too bad. Required a little bit of extra strategy if I wanted to play the red line. It was slower but safer in the blue line for sure. Was able to take out like a couple groups at once. Very limited deaths. I think the only one I actually had was early on when I was in DPS fighting the two mobs and not very well prepared. And of course, getting warm up with Warden gameplay still basically this entire time. I feel pretty happy with how that went. Again, there's a lot of RNG with the malices you can get, so the difficulty can be extremely different one day to another, but I thought that was pretty successful and overall not too bad for tier 12 delving. Now, I guess the real question is, and perhaps for the next LOTRO challenge video, is how would my Runekeeper or even my Captain do in this situation? By the way, opening the chest, I got, drumroll, delving box of crafting materials. At least I guess you do get a little bit more delving writs. It's not even that impactful. It is a lot more, but you get so few delving writs compared to how much you need to actually barter for stuff. But yeah, not great rewards from either the tier 7 baseline delving or the tier 12 delving thing that definitely took a lot longer here. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video and let me know what you think could be an interesting challenge for the next LOTRO challenge video. And with that, if you did enjoy, don't forget to like and subscribe, and thanks for watching everyone.